So much going on, so much going on, so much stuff everywhere. Right now we're talking about Congressman Paul Gosar. Who cares about Paul Gosar, one might say? And I have to say, until recently, he had even stayed off my radar, the congressman from Arizona. But he ended up coming onto my radar when the situation in Arizona over the November election popped up. And then also because he was talking about Ashley Babbitt. We're going to go over a couple of things.
Director Ray, do you know who executed Ashley Babbitt?
No, I don't know the name of the person who was
so do you agree that Ashley Babbitt was
shooting.
unarmed?
No, I really can't weigh in on the facts and circumstances of that case. As you may know, that was investigated by the D.C. Metro's Internal Affairs Department with the DOJ Civil Rights Division and the U.S. Attorney's Office, and the FBI was not investigative agents.
Yeah, it's disturbing. The Capitol Police officer that did the shooting, Ashley Babbitt, appeared to be hiding, lying in wait, and they gave no warning before killing her. Question again, why hasn't that officer that executed Ashley Babbitt been named when police officers around the country are routinely identified after a shooting?
Comment on that case. It's not one that we've been directly involved in, so I really can't agree or disagree with your characterization.
Sounds good. Do you approve of lethal force against unarmed citizens, particularly a 110-pound woman with no warning, no use of non-lethal force prior while lying in wait?
Not going to try to answer a hypothetical, especially one based on a case that I just
That
said.
actually wasn't a hypothetical. That's actually what happened.
But he's been recently censured by the House Democrats and stripped of his committees. The reason why this has happened is very serious and troublesome. What Congressman Gosar did was completely unacceptable, extremely serious. I mean, for the Democrats in Congress to hold session and have their vote without allowing the Ethics Committee to look into the situation, for them to move so swiftly to censure this man, one of like 28 to ever be censured, and to strip him of his committees, it must have been something egregious. And you know that. And it turns out it is egregious. Congressman Paul Gosar threatened the life of AOC.
It is sad. It is a sad day.
You can tell this woman is terrified for her life. The threat that Congressman Paul Gosar put on AOC is so outlandish, so outrageous, so terrifying, so threatening that even I have to warn my audience before I play it. But before I play it, let's talk about some possible other reasons why they would want to remove Congressman Paul Gosar from his committee. Well, there's the fact that he refused to give up this fight. There's the fact that he was calling for this. Oh, this tweet really pissed them off. But none of it quite came together until I came up with this. Exclusive, Representative Paul Gosar, Obama's Fast and Furious Benghazi IRS scandals, all connected to DOJ, FBI corruption, and Trump probe. And so here you have Congressman Paul Gosar, who's in the Oversight Committee. The Oversight Committee. Listen to what he's talking about. And this is in 2018. Operation Fast and Furious attacking the Second Amendment. Operation Choke Point, which we've talked about in this channel extensively. If you don't think Benghazi and the lack of accountability when they knew something was going to come, if you don't think the IRS and the attacking of your adversaries financially and the unmasking are unrelated things, think again. So back in 2018, Congressman Paul Gosar was shining a light on the Obama-Biden methodology of attacking their enemies through any means necessary. Now, I call this the Obama doctrine, but Biden was around long before Obama, and so was Pelosi. This is the Obama-Biden-Pelosi doctrine. The first one that they targeted was Marjorie Greene Taylor. And it became obvious why they wanted her off the board. She was saying all the wrong things. All the things that you just can't have a congressperson saying. But she was a freshman congressperson. Paul Gosar was saying all the same things, but they couldn't just censure him and remove him. That being said, you just can't allow somebody from the Oversight Committee, such a loud, vocal critic of the current administration and, of course, of Nancy Pelosi, continue on having made tweets like this. And so they lie, waiting, ready to spring the trap as soon as they could. And they got their opportunity with Gosar's threatening meme. That's right. The way that this congressperson supposedly threatened AOC was by putting together a minute-long shitpost about immigration. And what is shitposting? Well, you may not know. And basically it means this. Somebody who's making a post with minimal effort to cause maximum disruption. Shitposting. People do this all the time for attention, to draw attention to a subject, blah, blah, blah. What we all know is that it's in jest. Recently, we've seen a problem where certain people have had a hard time understanding that memes are memes and jokes are jokes. And everybody's like, wow, they really take it seriously. They just don't understand that it's a joke. Now we're starting to see that them not being able to take a joke has real world implications. We're going to watch the supposed threatening video, and then we're going to listen to AOC talk about it. So this is Representative Paul Gosar's threatening video where he makes threats against AOC and the president. It's threatening. That's it. So in case you missed the 3 seconds of that just frankly stupid, silly anime feature, in case you missed this quick spot where he, quote, threatened her life, it was when he superimposed his face and AOC's face, along with others, onto these cartoon characters in the middle, right here. So I guess Representative Paul Gosar is threatening AOC with dual-wielding samurai blades and threatening that he's going to do a flying spin kick where he's literally flying through the air. And now here comes the threat against the president. That's it. Now I want you to listen to the circus in Congress that is spurred by this video.
Thank you, Chairman, and thank you, Madam Speaker. I've been serving in this body just under 3 years. In that 3 years, an enormous amount has happened. But in response to the Republican leader's remarks when he says that this action is unprecedented, what I believe is unprecedented is for a member of House leadership of either party to be unable to condemn incitement of violence against a member of this body. It is sad. It is a sad day in which a member who leads a political party in the United States of America cannot bring themselves to say that issuing a depiction of murdering a member of Congress is wrong.
A depiction of murdering a member of Congress.
And instead decides to venture off into a tangent about gas prices and inflation. What is so hard? What is so hard about saying that this is wrong?
What is so hard?
This is not about me. This is not about Representative Gosar. But this is about what we are willing to accept. Not just the Republican leader, but I have seen other members of this party advance the argument, including Representative Gosar himself, the illusion that this was just a joke. That what we say and what we do does not matter so long as we...
What we say and what we do
that what we say and what we do does not matter so long as we claim a lack of meaning.
So what they're saying is, because they said, you guys, the meme is just a meme, it's just a joke, it's not serious. Now what she's now saying is that what they're saying by saying that is nothing they do in Congress matters. Right.
This nihilism runs deep.
The nihilism runs deep with this one. Who wrote that for her?
And it conveys and betrays a certain contempt for the meaning and importance of our work here.
So because they say it's just a meme, chill out, that means that they have a contempt and a nihilistic viewpoint on Congress.
That what we do, so long as we claim that it is a joke, doesn't matter. That what we say here doesn't matter. That our actions every day as elected leaders in the United States of America doesn't matter. That this chamber and what happens in it doesn't matter. And I am here to rise to say that it does. Our work here matters. Our example matters. There is meaning in our service. And as leaders in this country, when we incite violence.
Because he's inciting violence with his anime. It's not all the other actual incitements to violence that you've seen politicians do over the past years where they say literally go out and push them and scream them and confront them. No. It's the 2-second anime clip.
With depictions against our colleagues that trickles down into violence in this country. And that is where we must draw the line, independent of party, identity, or belief. It is about a core recognition of human dignity and value and worth. So when we talk about, as mentioned in the resolution, that these depictions are part of a larger trend of misogyny and racial misogyny, racist misogyny.
It was racist misogyny, guys. Racist misogyny.
This has results in dampening the participation. And so this vote is not as complex as perhaps the Republican leader would like to make folks believe. It's pretty cut and dry. Does anyone in this chamber find this behavior acceptable? Would you allow depictions of violence against women, against colleagues? Would you allow that in your home? Do you think this should happen on a school board, in a city council, in a church?
Shame on this body.
And if it's not acceptable there, why should it be accepted here? Lastly, when the Republican leader rose to talk about how there are all of these double standards and lists a litany of all these different things, not once did he list an example of a member of Congress threatening the life of another. This is not about a double standard, and what is unprecedented and what is tragic is the descent of transgression in this body. I grew up as a little girl.
The descent of transgression in this body.
With awe about our nation's capital. The reverence and the importance and the gravity of our work here.
You have additional 30 seconds.
General is recognized.
The gravity of our work here. So the question that I pose to this body in response.
Oh, I didn't even notice that little freak behind her right shoulder from Florida there. What's her name? Wasserman Schultz.
Is will we live up to the promises that we make our children?
But of course she's right there in the middle of all these shenanigans.
That this is a place where we will defend one another regardless of belief. That our core human dignity matters. If you believe that this behavior is acceptable, go ahead. Vote no. But if you believe that this behavior should not be accepted, then vote yes.
Now, after the 10-minute long appeal to emotion and, quite frankly, acting that Congresswoman AOC does, you have to admit, it is quite the monologue. Then a Republican member of Congress and a Republican Congresswoman gets up and kind of talks about, the facts and how matter-of-factly the parliamentary norms are not being observed here as this man's being stripped of his committees. It's a little bit of a different ring to it.
Thank you, and I yield back to the chairman.
I'm a recent victim of violence. Just a few months ago, a political activist attempted to run me over with his car. When this happened, I immediately contacted law enforcement. If members of Congress, anywhere, anytime, feels threatened, unfortunately, this posted video is not the first video or statement by a member of Congress inciting or depicting violence. Members on both sides of the aisle have made choices that I surely wouldn't have made.
AOC didn't contact the police. So how threatened was she? No, she contacted Nancy Pelosi and was like, "This man scared me. We must immediately get him stripped of his committees. It is the only way I will feel safe again."
But as the ranking member of the House Ethics Committee, I find myself on the floor now for the second time this year to address an issue that has been referred to ethics, but which has seen no committee process before coming to the floor for a vote.
And here's the parliamentary issues that we're seeing here. The Ethics Committee was not allowed to debate this or to put forth any punishments or any censure. It was pulled away from the Ethics Committee and sent immediately to a entire floor vote, which obviously the Democrats control the whole floor, and they voted along party lines to remove him from his committees, except for two Republicans, one of which was Liz Cheney, and the other one was a Liz Cheney.
Yesterday afternoon, the majority party drafted this resolution and scheduled this debate and floor vote today. The House Ethics Committee has had no time to consider this matter through the Ethics Committee process. And there is a process. The majority controls when this resolution was introduced, when the Rules Committee meeting was scheduled, when the Ethics Committee meets, and when the resolution comes to the floor for a vote. If there's a scheduling conflict or an excuse as to why we're standing here today rushing this to the floor, then it's a conflict that was totally intended by the majority.
And they set it up like that on purpose to target this guy. They were waiting. The second he shared some stupid crap, they were just waiting.
We are today voting to remove a representative from his committee and censure him on the House floor. Traditionally, members are placed on committees by their own party, and they're removed from committees by their own party.
And that's clutch, because this is the way it's been done for a very, very long time, guys. And only in two circumstances now, since the Democrats have had control of the House, have they actually used this power to strip an opposing party member of their committees. When the Republicans are in charge of Congress again, they're going to do this same thing, and now the Pandora's box is opened.
Yet this majority has broken precedent, again, removing the second Republican member this Congress from their committees. Let me just say again, members on both sides of the aisle have made choices that many of us would not have made. But by rushing this vote to the floor today and ignoring the institutional process, the majority is setting a precedent again. They may not serve this institution well in the future, and I reserve the balance of my time.
And just in case you think that AOC was presenting the emotional argument and that, of course, there must have been other logical Democrats on the stage.
I did see the video. I'm sorry that the distinguished leader on the Republican side apparently chose not to, or viewed it and deemed it something less than what it is, which is the horrific depiction of the murder of a fellow colleague and threats.
The horrific depiction of the murder of a fellow colleague.
The President of the United States.
And threats against the President of the United States, you guys. So you can't share a meme anymore without getting accused of that. You saw the video.
We're acting on this resolution because Republican leadership has not taken responsibility for members of its own Congress when a fellow member of Congress has been threatened with violence. The House cannot wait indefinitely for Republican leadership to find its collective conscience and condemn the threat.
They couldn't wait for ethics. They had to bring this to the floor. They don't have time to wait for these Republicans. And so Representative Paul Gosar was stripped of his committees, just like that. The Operation Fast and Furious, Operation Choke Point, communist subversion that he was seeing in Congress back in 2018, even before that with Fast and Furious, has now stripped him of his committees. That's what happens when you speak out against it. Anyways, guys, like, share, sub.